It says Gilmore Gang is now live.
All right.
Who knew?
Okay.
Let's do
All
it.
right,
Tina.
let's go in 3, 2, 1, and
Off. Mute is on. Hi, Steve Gilmore. This is the Gilmore Gang. We're in Southern California.
we are not.
Never been in Southern California. Actually, it was about 50 years ago, 60 years ago.
Still there.
Is it?
It's still there.
Who said that?
Me, Dennis.
Okay, so welcome, Dennis Pombriand.
Hello, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here on the East Coast, where we had rain this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you save any of it, or did it just run off?
I washed my car, just let the rain rinse it. It was good.
Okay, so we've also got Brent Leary from the Atlantic Southeast. Is that correct?
Yes, that's where I hail from. Yes.
And with his ever-present fan. And then there are people that like him as well.
Oh, we got jokes. All right, this is good.
Yeah, we just used them all up.
We had jokes. All right.
Yeah, we don't have a writer.
Then there's the Pacific Northwest, sort of, is. I'm trying to decide between. There are two people that can qualify that way. I'm going to go with the extreme Northwest, which is Michael Markman. Welcome, Michael.
Glad to be here.
And south of him is Keith Tier.
And south of us.
Except I'm north of him right now.
Yeah,
Oh.
but that depends
screen.
upon which screen he's on, and way too complicated Zoom stuff.
It sounds like an alternate fact to me.
And we haven't forgotten. I'm trying to, but we haven't forgotten Frank Raditz in London.
Nice to be forgotten.
How are you, sir?
You know, I'm great. I wish that I was able to watch the conventions in real time, but honest to God, watching them in not real time is almost as good.
Well, what's really good is that they're over, both of them.
Yeah, but I think the fun really begins now, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Oh wow, we got more fun ahead of us. That's great.
Michael, why do you say absolutely?
Well, this is where the shooting and crossfire begins, and that's not necessarily metaphorical.
Not at all.
Not at all. Just crazy. There was I think I want to say it's the guy from the Washington Post who does the list of lies that the president tells today.
Kessler?
Was it? I don't think it's Kessler. I just bear with me because I don't remember his name, but I think it was that guy who was on. I think it was MSNBC today. Again, I think who went rapid fire through like 20 different lies and misstatements made by.
Okay, that's
Trump.
probably Dale on CNN.
That's right. It was Dale. It was fabulous. It was so good that he almost sounded like a rapper. It was that good.
He's been doing that every night. They're fantastic, and you can find them online, and they're mind blowing.
Are they lies or just deviations from truth?
Both, I think. Right, Michael? Yeah,
I
a little
think it's
bit
a
of
mixture.
both.
It's a mixture.
And which is more debilitating to the country?
It doesn't really
I don't
matter,
know.
does it?
Does anyone think? It doesn't even feel like any of it's debilitating. It's like for some reason I'm like throwing in the towel here. I feel like it's not. You know, I hate to say this, but he's going to win. And I'm just,
Oh, Brent, you're
Frank!
pulling him back.
Frank!
I know, I feel
I-
terrible. Brent, I think I'm starting to move in your direction. I'll tell you one
I'll
thing.
just post this up too.
I'll tell you one thing that that I thought was absolutely brilliant. Set aside, Dennis. I know you're going to hate hearing this because there he's getting up and going. He knows where I'm going with this. Set aside the problems with Trump using the White House as the background. Set aside the issues of 2,000 people on the lawn not social distancing and not wearing masks. Set aside the lies and the misdirections. Set all of that aside. Incredible branding, terrific production, just glorious imagery, and then top it all off with that huge fireworks display over the Washington Monument with Trump 2020 in the sky. It was like, oh my God, our marketing guys, a dream.
The only thing missing was Leni Riefenstahl to trim it.
Yes, I thought that many times.
Frank, for the will reference for those who are.
By the way, Frank, I just got up to close my door because my dog heard your voice and started barking.
I'm sure that's what it was. Dogs like me. They really do.
Yeah.
Cats like me more. Cats like me more. So get your cat in the shot next time.
Yeah.
Oh, there he is.
around.
Okay, so you talked about all the stuff that you took out. All the coverage, basically, in the media is all that stuff that you took out at the beginning of your comments.
I know.
Right.
Think it's going to matter?
So, no, I don't. I think that the media lack of responsibility is reprehensible.
I think that the media's attempt to be responsible this late is just as reprehensible. My problem with it is that they're all saying the stuff that's true now, but I think that they've dug a hole so deep that they can't get out of it. And that's why I'm starting to feel like Brent Leary.
Okay, Brent, this is your hole that you dug. Why don't you bring us into it? What is this? Do you really think that he's going to that Trump's going to win?
I really think it's looking like that, and it's because kind of some of the stuff that Frank said. It's easier to try to pull everything else around you down than to try to lift yourself up. And this is what he's doing. He's not going to be satisfied until he destroys. It's not just burning Rome. It's burning, it's sacking. He's going to take as much of this country down with him if that means that he can win. This week was a perfect example. How are they still counting lies at this point? I mean, what's the point of counting them? Everything he says is pretty much that. And it still doesn't really have a dramatic impact on his negatives. It's just going to have a more dramatic impact on everybody else's positives, and including,
what if you run against? What if you change the perspective from calling it a lie to saying, according to the people that like him, that's true?
What's the difference?
Well, it's a more complicated jujitsu than that. It's not that they think it's true; it's that they are amused by the lying, and they're amused by the impact that the lying has on the rest of us.
That last part is really important. They're amused at the impact it has on the rest of us. They don't care if it hurts them a little, as long as it hurts us more. I really believe that.
That's about being self-aware. I mean, we are the intellectual elite who are liberal to the point of cancel culture, and we are despised. I mean, let's be honest. If you are kind of a feminist who's a cancel culture feminist, or a transsexual who's a cancel culture transsexual, or a liberal who wants to shut up the right, you are hated. You
Well, this
are.
is true. Look, we know there's a division, and we know there's a lot of mutual hatred across the divide. The question is, how big is each faction, and how motivated is each faction?
Yep.
Good question. What's your answer?
It looks to me like both sides are very motivated. I think that the anti-Trump faction is larger. I think, unless you believe that there's this hidden, shy pro-Trump vote that won't admit it to a pollster, it's pretty clear that Trump has a ceiling, and the ceiling has never budged, and his favorables fluctuate within a very small range, and none of that changes.
But we, assuming we are our own worst enemies. Did any of you see that Twitter video with the crowd outside the Washington restaurant screaming at the woman in the purple?
Oh, that
shirt?
was.
Yes.
Yeah, that was bad.
I mean, that's the left.
Well, I don't know. Does that trump a 17-year-old Trump right winger going out with an AK-15 and killing people? I mean, intimidating an outdoor diner versus shooting people in the head.
Well, the weird thing is, I'll take that on. The weird thing is, we all expect the crazy right winger to shoot people. None of us have seen the crazy left screaming at people. That's new.
Well,
I think that unifying this discussion around what's going to actually transpire. In other words, how many motivated people on one side versus how many motivated people on the other side. That's really what the ultimate equation is. Dennis, what's your thought?
2 points. I don't know if any of you have been to the website 270 to win.
Yeah.
It's just one of many that can give you an electoral map. So the map here shows Democrats with safe, likely, and leaning states with 278 electoral votes versus 169 Republican electoral votes in the same categories. In between, there are 91 toss-up states that include places like Arizona, North Carolina, Ohio, Florida, and Georgia.
91. I mean, there's a total of how many states? 50.
There's 50 states plus some territories and stuff. Okay, so that's
when you say 91,
number.
do you? Well, I'm confused.
91 toss-ups. 91 toss-up electoral
votes. Yeah.
Thank you.
So the thing I was thinking about this morning is that we now have a third party in the United States in the election. The third party is a branch of the Republican Party. And I don't care if you call it the Trump Party or the establishment GOP, but those guys are as polarized as liberals and conservatives, perhaps more so. If you look at the number of different organizations that have been spawned by establishment GOP or former GOP members, people like the Lincoln Project and many others. There was like 1,000 people who worked in the W administration. Those people are influencers. They will bring people with them. They may not be enough to change the vote dramatically, but they will be enough to siphon off some people who are not red meat Trumpists from the Trump total. I think Trump is about to suffer some blowback from the convention, which was focused on his base. And I see a very tough row to hoe for him. I am not in the Brent Leary, Frank Radis camp at all.
Why am I not
sorry.
surprised by that? Because he's from Boston, and I don't get along with.
I'm just. My point was that I was tending to move in that direction, but I'm also thinking about things like voter intimidation on election day. I mean, imagine if there's an additional law enforcement group at every poll. That I think is going to intimidate some people not to want to vote. I just don't know what other kind of stuff
It might
this
encourage
guy at
to vote now. It might encourage early voting.
Breaking news.
Okay.
News. Just before we went on, headline in the New York Times: the NBA and its players' union announced a plan to use arenas as election polling places as part of a deal to resume playoffs on Saturday.
It wasn't Atlanta the first place to do that, and I think that they started that, and I think that's a great idea. And I think that will be one of those things that might help counter the intimidation factor. People might feel more comfortable going into a big stadium and voting. I noticed in Atlanta they had hundreds of polling stations, or they had enough space to put hundreds of polling stations around. The question then becomes, what kind of polling will it be, and are there enough pieces of equipment and people to handle? I don't know. I just think that I'm concerned now that it's almost become so tiresome that people aren't feeling it anymore. I keep hearing people saying things like, "I've just had it. I don't want to hear any more of this. I'm done with it." What does that mean? I don't know what that translates to. It just makes me feel nervous.
Doesn't that happen every election cycle?
Yeah, but it
the whole
feels
infosphere becomes saturated. Television, radio, internet, YouTube banner ads, Facebook ads.
Well, but there has, except for the last two.
By the time you vote, you're ready to throw up.
But except for the last two, there wasn't internet, and there wasn't all of that social media, and there was. I mean, the thing is that
that's a good
more people
handoff.
were watching television.
That's a good handoff. The last two. Is it 2016 or is it 2018? That's really the question.
Mm-hmm. I was actually thinking the last presidential one before it.
I think
they call it to give more game.
The smart money is on the line that starts in 2016, goes to 2018, and extrapolates to 2020. I think the smart money is still with Dennis, that Trump won't recover the gap no matter what he does. But it is definitely correct what Frank says, that their convention was the best you could imagine for their case. It was really well done. I thought the use of ordinary people in quotes and the swearing in ceremony for the immigrants, which was very controversial, were all really, really good plays.
But to your point about controversial, I think it was controversial only to the elites on both sides of the issue.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, people don't really care, about whether the democracy is collapsing.
No,
and people don't really care whether or not those people knew that they were going to get used either. And like Mark Meadows said, nobody outside the Beltway cares about any of this stuff.
No, this is all about being entertained, man. This guy put on a 4-day reality TV convention show, whatever you want to call it. I mean, all the pageantry, all the surprise, all the people. Yeah, we're actually going to be citizens. I mean, it was a TV show.
But did you check the ratings? The ratings are down from the Democrats.
They are. That's interesting.
Down from the previous convention.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that the ratings are down for both of them, but I believe that actually the ratings were down, Republicans versus Democrats too. Yes. But none of it was down by much. It wasn't like it was 10 million. It was like 19.7 to 19.3. It was
it was more like 19 to 15. It was a substantial gap.
And there's a good reason for that. I mean, like the Democratic folks, they actually had people that we actually kind of know. I mean, every night there was not just another Biden speaking. Like this whole week was, I was surprised Barron Trump didn't speak. I was like, what is he doing, online classes or something? He doesn't have a chance to get out and talk.
10, have you seen how tall that guy's gotten?
Oh my, yeah. Trump's got to feel really bad about that. He can't even wear lifts to make him that tall.
I mean, but every other speaker was like a Trump, whereas like at least last week they had people, I mean, that they weren't this year because of who their, what their last name was. And I think last night will be interesting to see what the ratings were for the Trump speech compared to the other 3 nights, because quite honestly, who was it, like Scott Baio? Or I mean, I have no idea outside of the Trump name who else was talking.
Well, that was his whole strategy, was to have normal non-entities. That was his
or just non-entities. He doesn't care if they're normal or not.
I wonder if that was a strategy or if that was what he had to do.
Apart from Rudy,
he doesn't like doing.
Also, remember that the Democrats also had plenty of people you never heard of testifying, and I think it just may have been a little copy and paste from something that was effective last week.
The difference to me is
that the people who spoke on the Democrat side were the most effective people of the entire convention.
Of the regular people.
Yeah, I do.
Saying, I voted for Trump last time. I'll never vote for him again.
I thought that the difference was the Republicans convention was assuming they're in a fight and they need to win. The Democrat convention felt to me like assuming we're going to win and all we have to do is, our bit. So
I didn't get that. I didn't feel that way.
I didn't hear any real fear of losing translating into policy. I heard fear of Trump translating into assumption of victory.
Well, but I think Trump played it exactly the opposite of that. Obviously, it was fear of what the Democrats will do to you. And I actually thought that I wonder what Kamala Harris's words prior to that speech that day, whether that will make a difference, because I think she, and that plus the fact that the Republicans came out without a platform. I mean, there were just so many reasons to look at it and go, what the hell is going on here?
Exactly. The Republicans said, we're with Trump. It's like the old Hillary slogan, we're with her. But their official position is anything Trump wants, that's what we're in favor of. And Trump has failed repeatedly to say what he wants to do in his second term, except that he's going to do stuff. It's a remarkably content-free proposal he's making. His message is essentially this: one, blacks are coming to get you and lower your property values. They're going to come and hurt you. And if you elect Biden, bad things will happen. The problem is bad things are already happening. There's a reality that has to do with the disease and with the economic collapse and unemployment and people actually hurting and farmers hurting. That's a reality that Trump tries to ignore, but it's out there. And
well, you know what?
Yeah. Most people, on the rare occasions that they go out their front door, they don't see riots and they don't see demonstrations. They don't see anything but just their neighborhood. So Trump is trying to conjure this sense of rioting everywhere and chaos everywhere that just doesn't exist for people. It's a case of who you're going to believe, me or your own eyes.
Well, I was just showing, I'll go back to this because it's kind of interesting. I was just showing they had this dual screen image of Trump pardoning this woman that was in jail for 20 years. I think he already had commuted her sentence, but now he's pardoning her. And to me, that's a lot. I mean, it's great for her, but it's a symbol. It's not really changing the big scheme of things. There's no policy change or anything versus this march that's going on with tens of thousands of people. But for Trump, he's using this ability to kind of do this little symbolic thing that, well, it does impact that lady's life, her life, but it does nothing to change anything structurally with what's going on. But he used it as part of a show to show that, hey, I'm doing stuff for the blacks. I'm doing this for the blacks.
It was the second image like that in 2 days.
Yeah, but it's all it is an image. It does nothing structurally to change the things that are taking place. But he's able to put that out there and say, look what I'm doing for the blacks. Yeah. See, I'm letting this lady go. and totally ignoring the tens of thousands of people that are at DC right now
Well,
that are asking for structural change.
The only purpose of doing that is to give whites who don't want to see themselves as racists permission to vote for Trump.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with doing anything for blacks.
No, of course not. But he can say that
it's just
because he can say that. Yeah, but he's saying that, and like it says, him saying that tells the audience of white folks that I guess he's trying to say, hey, don't feel bad for voting for me. See what I'm doing. I'm seeing what I'm doing for the blacks. And he's not doing anything. Maybe he's doing something for the black, which means that one lady, but the tens of thousands of people out here marching for structural changes in the justice system and the economy, he's not talking to them at all.
Correct.
He knows the power of a single image that is broadcast to millions of people, reach and frequency, can be just as important as the power of a lot of images that aren't reaching a lot of people. And that's his game.
That's why I'm saying I haven't changed my thing.
Sorry. The problem with this message that you're putting out about the power of the image, etc., is that it's not speaking to the swing vote.
Hopefully,
he is.
Well, either it is or it isn't. If it is speaking to the swing vote, then we have something to talk about.
Who is the swing vote? How big is the swing vote, Steve?
He's appealing to
20%.
It's about a third. I think it's about a third of the electorate. I think there's roughly a third and a third hard, and in the middle there's another third. And his narrative has moved. Like last night, when he criticized the murder of George Floyd and the person and people who did that, whilst at the same time defending the police and being against the protesters, his narrative was trying to embrace opposition to police violence against Black people, whilst at the same time changing the focus of the problem to the protesters. And he wouldn't have done both of those things. He would only done one of those things if he was not seeking the swing voter. He is definitely going after it. Whether he achieves it or not is unlikely, I think, but that is his plan.
Right. So if it's likely, then we have nothing to talk about. Let's talk about how's the pandemic going for all you guys?
I'm trying to go to New York.
I wanted to challenge that third. I mean, when you see polling that says,
don't worry,
when you see polling that says 51-43, there isn't a third left that's out there.
I think there's about a 20% vote, of which you then carve that up into those three groups, don't care in the middle and left and right. Those are the people that are being operated on, in this election.
Well, if there's any accuracy to the polling, there's only about 10% that doesn't come out on one side or the other.
Okay, so if I say it's the swing vote is 20%, and it's divided equally in thirds, which I don't know that that's true, but let's say it is. What is 20% divided by 3? What is that?
6.67.
0.66. Yeah, 6.67.
Number of the beast.
Okay, those are the people that are going to decide the election.
Has there been an instant poll out since last night yet?
I haven't seen one yet.
As I saw the numbers by yesterday afternoon, it seemed to me that in a lot of the swing states, they were getting closer. And
Can
even
you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
That I had seen a couple of the polls, I guess it was yesterday afternoon, that showed that in a number of the swing states, it was getting closer, and closer in that it was within the margin of error. And I wondered if that was a result of some kind of an RNC bump. Was there a DNC bump? I actually don't know yet. I haven't seen it. I didn't get the feeling that they were going to get a big bump out of it, but that things were already starting to move back in the direction of Trump. That's another reason why I was sort of gravitating towards Brent. Am I misreading those numbers Dennis, have you seen those polls?
Well, they're polls, but they're from a variety of right-wing outlets. Now, I've got something on my screen that shows the gaps. I mean, Pennsylvania's close, 49 to 44% as of the 27th. North Carolina has Biden leading by a point. Texas is within the margin of error, so it's 45-48 for the Dems. Places you'd expect Trump to win, he's winning, but he's got like 49 to 42% in Kansas. Honestly, it may be too early to have really good, crisp numbers, but I'm just scanning this. I'm not seeing any red state breaking blue. I'm not seeing any blue states breaking red, but what I am seeing is a lot of stuff that's pretty close, within 3 or 4 points. Here's the thing. I really want to help you feel better. I expect that Trump is going to win some states. I expect that.
Who do you want to feel better?
The rest of you on the panel, but I don't. I don't see how Trump digs himself out of this hole. Trump, you got to remember, Trump is running for re-election, and he's using his old playbook, and he's got a record now. We know he lies. We know he's been a disaster on the economy and on COVID-19 and on race relations. That stuff sticks. There's going to be people that ignore it. They live in Kansas, or they live somewhere else in a red state.
This is why I asked the question. I'm trying to shift the burden of this discussion to the pandemic. Pandemic fatigue is the underlying swing vote here.
Maybe.
I just think that it is. I mean, we can run away from all this stuff. We can try and entertain ourselves with the West Wing, watching it over and over again between now and 65 days. What are we going to do? We can't run away from this feeling of surprise and horror.
Powerlessness.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, but the one thing
who is that going to redound to? Whose benefit?
Yeah, but the one thing that Trump is still ahead of Biden on, which is probably in a lot of ways, it's the most important thing, is he's still ahead of him on the economy. And I mean,
that's so weird.
Well, because he says stuff and he says it boldly and like, as I'll quote him, strongly. And because he said, it doesn't matter if it's a lie or not. He says he created the greatest economy of all time. Anybody who has a clue knows that's not even true. Not even close to being true. But he says it, and he's got people there to believe it because they want to believe it.
He's got Larry Kudlow.
There aren't enough of them for Trump to turn that into an electoral college victory. There are some people who are going to believe that. But don't forget, the closer you get to election day, the more dead redneck grandmothers you're going to have, and the more starving people who can't pay their rent.
They already got dudes saying, "Hey, that's okay. That's just the cost of us getting back to work." The old folks, they're okay with dying. If it saves the economy, the old folks still go ahead and die in peace.
I don't agree with that one bit, but that's just me. I just think that was some.
Which part?
The old folks part. I wanted to say that there's been some interesting conversations around Trump fighting the 1968 presidential battle again, which I think is an interesting comparison.
Well, people say that, but that was an outsider. That was Nixon, Nixon saying, look, the Democrats have screwed it up. Trump's trying to do it this way. He's trying to say, well, it's the Democratic mayors that screwed it up.
Yeah.
Don't blame me.
Oh, but he's saying that the Democrats are going to.
I don't see how an incumbent can run on the platform of things are terrible, I'll fix it.
But he's not even running on a platform.
Well, that's not a platform, but that's a message. I mean, that's one of the consistent messages of the campaign is things are terrible, but Trump can fix it.
Trump
only Trump.
1992 all over again.
So they just got a
Herbert Walker Bush and
Al Gore.
How long do you? I'd like to do a snap poll.
He created Ross Perot. He created his own Ross Perot. He has split his party. It's unfathomable how he can split his party and expect to make it up somehow. He's toast.
Well, he's only really split the party elite. Down at the base, I doubt that's as true.
Well,
but the anti-Trump folks, are savvy enough to concentrate all their media power on the swing states.
Women are abandoning.
And their messages are relentless. There's the Republican voters against Trump, and there's the Lincoln Project, and then a whole bunch of other people just pounding and pounding on these messages. So the Democrats have, at least temporarily, allies in undermining Trump's hold on his base in the swing states.
This all makes me feel better, by the way, Dennis.
How so?
Well, because it's positive from my perspective.
Yeah, but you're feeling better because you posited that you had moved all the way to the right.
No, I had posited that I was moving to the right. I didn't posit that I had moved to the right.
You have Keith Tierwood for sure, but that doesn't mean that you're successful in your gambit. It just means that you like the gambit.
I do.
I have a bit of breaking news. I have a bit of breaking news.
What's that?
The ratings for last night are out, and Biden had more people watching his acceptance speech, 23.6 million across all the networks, versus 21.6 for Trump last night.
Oh, that's not going to go down well at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We're going to see somebody getting fired.
It doesn't factor in online viewing, but that's all the network and cable ratings.
Somebody's about to get fired.
There were nine. There were nine networks that carried it.
But he's going to say that 18 to 49 versus 30 to 54 versus 87 to 25. He's going to go back and start parsing the demos.
Yeah. So what? Let me ask a question. I want an answer, numerical answer. How many months more do you expect the pandemic to go? Starting with Keith.
48.
Whoa.
Dennis.
I'd say 6.
Michael Markman.
So it depends on the threshold of when you think the pandemic is over, because it's going to
no weasel answers allowed. Give me a number.
So if you want me to give you a number, I will give you 23 months.
Okay. And let's see, Frank, have you weighed in yet?
Yeah, 12.
And Brent?
Feels like the price is right. So who is the lowest bidder? Is 6 months, and the highest was 40.
Yes.
I'm
Come on down.
I'm going to go 13 months. I'm going to Trump Frank.
Whoa, 1 month.
Trump Frank.
Trump Frank. Good one. Or Frank Trump.
So apparently.
What about you, Steve? What about you?
So nobody has 3 months. Nobody has 3 months, and that's when the election happens.
Yeah, no,
and a lot of the election happens in a month and a half.
Well, there's another, aside from waiting for Steve's answer, there's another poll here, and that is, when will we have an effective vaccine?
Okay, go ahead, Frank, since you took over the show. Go ahead.
Well, you obviously let me just then. So when do you think, Steve, when do you think we'll have an effective vaccine? No weaseling, just a number.
How's that going for you?
Come on.
Hey, dead air
Okay.
is my friend.
Dead air. Keith, what do you think?
Never.
Never. Okay.
Wow, never.
Wow. Michael.
Well, you use the word effective, so I'm taking that as my answer is never, because it won't be effective.
Okay.
You know, my question is, what do you mean by have? Released, having it taken
Distributed.
by a significant portion of the population, having significant herd immunity because of the vaccine.
Boy, you're putting too many caveats on it. Just when do you think we'll have a vaccine that works? There you go.
Oh, we already have a vaccine that works. We just don't know that it works yet.
That's kind of a strange answer.
Well, no, I mean there are a number of candidates.
Oh, you meant Putin.
Even in the West, there are a number of candidates. Probably at least one of them will be effective, but we don't have the trials yet, so we can't say it's effective. It's an unknown, but it's there. It already exists.
But that's not the question. The question is, how long before we have a vaccine on the market that we can have reasonable confidence in?
The confidence is, I think that's the key factor.
I haven't heard.
Okay,
I haven't heard.
In that case, yeah. In that case, Michael, we got one that's never.
So, confidence. I think it's going to be probably at least 12 months from now, probably 18.
Dennis.
Go ahead, Steve. Take over, please.
You know,
No. I'm just trying to help you out here.
Yeah.
There's only 6 squares here. Come on, jump on it.
Circle gets the square.
I don't want to sound like I'm pulling rank, but I studied immunology in grad school. And
You just want to pull rank. You don't want to sound like it.
well, whatever. So I really think there are somewhere between 120 and 140 vaccines in some level of trial right now. And several are in stage 3. And I know one that I follow from a company called Moderna is supposedly eliciting very high antibody response rates in the people it's tested on. So I feel pretty confident that given the numbers and given where we are in the testing regime, we'll have an effective vaccine after the election, probably around January timeframe. Then it's got to get out to the marketplace. People have to take it. There are going to be anti-vaxxers out there who say, "Oh, not me," or "not my kids," or whatever. And frankly, I don't care. I'm going to take it because I've got pretty good confidence in the science. And then I'm going to be okay. And then I don't care.
I'm reading that the best of the batch are about 52% effective.
But 52% effective.
That's not great.
It's a big number, given the fact that the pool of adopters is going to be essentially the ones that are going to keep, the people that aren't under 25 and think they're immortal, they're factored out. And then the senior citizens are going to stay home until this thing takes out. So that 50% impact on the bulk of the middle of this country is a pretty big deal.
It is.
It's gonna
let's move this
economy.
No, but just compare it to chicken pox or measles or mumps. That's 100% effective. That's how I'm measuring it.
Yeah, but
let's bring this thing back to the election for a second. One of the people.
Hang on a second, Frank. Did you give a number?
No, I asked the question.
That's not how it works. No, that's not how it works.
I'm
immunized.
Dennis, what did you say?
I said 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months. I say 6 months. I'm with Dennis. But I am going to interject one quick thing here. That my friend Vince Manzi on the West Coast, who's watching us now, makes a really good point that regardless of whether there is a vaccine or isn't a vaccine, Trump will announce that there is a vaccine just before the election, and that will have some effect.
He's
It will
already
have
done
some
that.
effect, but every time Trump has touted a miracle cure, has undermined the credibility of his October surprise of new vaccine and new therapeutics.
That's an effect.
Everything he's announced so far has turned out to be a poppycock. So he's kind of the boy who cried wolf, or the boy who cried vaccine.
Anyway, let's get back to the poll. Brent, what do you think?
I'm gonna go. You guys went 6 months. I'm going 7 months. There it is.
Man. Okay, Vanna.
So let's see. 7 months. What is the month that 7 months is?
7 months from right now.
Yeah.
Like February.
Yeah, March.
That's 8 months.
I'll go with my birthday. I'm going March 25th. I'm going specific day. There it is. You heard it first.
So a corollary question is, will Trump have actually left the White House, regardless of what the results of the election are by that date?
Well, not regardless. If he wins, he won't have left.
Right.
Won't he get marched out? Won't he get marched out if he doesn't leave? If he loses and doesn't leave, he will get marched out of office. Yeah, he's going out July.
Marched.
I mean,
you
June.
trust the generals? You trust the junta?
Yeah.
I do trust them because I don't think
the junta is not his friend.
I don't think the military exactly is all behind him like he thinks it is.
Military not behind him. Military took an oath, and they take it very seriously.
Right, exactly.
And then it ends up being Pelosi for a certain period of time until it's determined.
Science fiction. Not going to
think.
You can tell what's going to happen by the Supreme Court decisions recently. You know, they voted against what he wanted, despite the fact that he loaded it, because the judiciary and the military and the police are part of the executive branch, basically do what is right mostly. The worst case is they get split, and there's some kind of minority group that goes with him, but I doubt that.
All right. Well, some of us are going to have to leave soon, so you've got about 5 minutes to resolve this and to make some. How do you think Facebook's going to do?
What's your last question? I didn't.
Did he say 5 minutes to resolve all of this? What we just been talking about?
I think he just said, "How do we think Nixon's going to do?" Is what it sounded like to me.
He's doing pretty well by comparisons. Like George W. Bush is my favorite president at the moment. Yeah, but take a look. At least he's got
George W. Bush is looking better by the day, man. I mean,
that's right.
I have nothing negative to say, man.
I can say a lot of negative things about him if we want to, but anyway, leave it on.
After this experience, I just went out. But
hey, here, listen. And by the way, going back to what you said a little earlier, Steve, there will be a brand new version of The West Wing. It's going to be shot.
Yes, I saw it, but it's a table read. So give me a break.
That's all right. It'll be very good.
Basically what's happening is the bar is getting lower and lower and lower for what constitutes a good president. I mean, that's not good, right?
No.
Well, but same thing about government and TV, the media. The media sucks. The government sucks. What's left?
What the heck? What happened to the media? Somebody explain that to me. I'm
trying to get you to explain that to me.
Oh, I can't explain it, and it's hard for me to understand what's happened to my colleagues out there in the media. There may still be some really good journalists, but I don't know that they're in television right now. I honestly don't know.
It's the loss of institutional credibility in the entire Western civilization. You can look anywhere in the world, and institutions are no longer credible in the eyes of the people. That's why Trump won in the first place.
Well, and yeah, who's responsible for that? The guy that you still think is going to lose, and I'm still thinking I haven't seen anything to change my opinion yet.
Can I make one observation for you, please? It strikes me that everybody talking is subject to straight line thinking. As in, you know, we go from one point to the other straight line. Trump won. Trump's always going to win. In nature, that isn't what happens. In nature, we see curves. We see things like an S curve or a bell curve or what have you. On Wall Street, they say trees don't grow to the moon, and stocks don't grow to the heavens either. What we need to, I think, look at is not the straight line, but where are the inflection points? What are the potential inflection points that we can point to that will change this arc? Right now, it appears that the Democrats are leading in this election. So the question you have to ask, and we asked some of these questions earlier, is how does Trump get back in it? Does Trump get back in it? So I'll stop.
I wonder if we try to think in terms of tangents and curves and things like that, doesn't that just complicate it? Not that that's I mean, that seems like the obvious thing, right? I mean,
if it wasn't
great, you got to think in a figure eight.
And inflection points, we'd all go to Hialeah and we'd all get rich.
Wouldn't that be the Mobius curve?
Yeah, that's the everything comes around, goes around again and again, but it becomes more farcical over time.
The Mobius curve is
okay, Brent. Good luck on your show that's beginning now.
Yeah, sports is going to be a lot to talk about in that arena.
Yes, so you guys continue the conversation. You got my 7 months for the vaccine and 13 months for the other thing.
The other thing.
What
See you
was
guys.
the
Ciao.
That was your question, Steve.
Good seeing you, Brent.
I don't remember
Absolutely.
my question.
Pandemic. How long the pandemic lasts?
There it is.
Yeah,
All
no,
right.
I thought we
Steve.
actually got answers to that one.
I
We
was just
did. He was
recapping.
just reminding. Yeah. Recap.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so Frank, do you feel like you can adequately represent Brent's strong opinion that he's not been challenged yet, that
No,
Trump's going to win?
No, I've been swayed back.
Oh, good.
In other words, this is just a TV show, and you weren't really over there to begin with.
I was looking for something to, I was making it spicy. I was trying to, change it up a little bit. And I actually was, feeling kind of depressed about all of this because of things that I've been hearing people say and conversations I've been having with people whom I don't really trust. And probably shouldn't be talking to anymore anyway.
Yeah,
but the problem
by those guys.
Oh my God. Forget what I said. What I said earlier, forget it.
Okay.
Look, we're all carrying a lot of PTSD from 2016, and it's very easy to get spooked. It really is.
And do you
That's
think
what's happening? I got spooked. I think that's all it is.
But but you have to acknowledge it's also easy to get blindsided, as in assume the win is in.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, but
you
that was
don't wanna-
just the beginning, and I didn't agree with the sentiment that the Democratic convention was evidence of the Democrats thinking that they were winning and they were just going to spike the ball. I think that is inaccurate.
Well, they're not fighting, in my opinion, for my heart and soul. I mean, I feel basically dead in the soul when I think about the Democrats, not excited, but I want them to win because I don't want Trump to win. But I'm not wanting to win and being enthused with what they're going to do.
Yeah, if I have to choose between them getting to the right place on November 2nd or
no question
week,
no question,
I don't care about last week. I'm just glad that both conventions are over.
Yeah,
I thought they both sucked.
Well, I think the Democrats tried to do two things. One was to reinforce Trump's negatives, and the other, more important thing, was to define Biden and give him some kind of a protective shield against what they knew the Republicans were going to be saying this week. So there was a huge amount of the convention devoted to the simple message: Biden's a good guy. Biden has empathy. Biden cares. That's the two-word summary of Biden. Biden cares.
Yeah, it kind of took the all the junk about that Bill Barr is going to run about the overthrowing the government back when Trump was running for president. That FBI, all that stuff. I think they took that off the table fairly effectively with what they did last week.
And the other very consistent message that kept coming back again and again was, you have to vote, you have to make a plan to vote, you have to vote early.
Yeah, and I think they pushed the lawyers out in front on the vote by mail stuff, which is going to migrate into vote early in general. And then eventually it'll be vote safely.
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll be over.
Right.
So
are the debates going to matter?
Are the debates going to matter? Our producer asks.
I was thinking that exact question the other day, Tina. I want to think that they'll matter. I do. My wife made a funny comment. She said, he's not going to do that Jaws thing behind Hillary. So what's he going to get? How's he going to be able to pull off his act? My question: do we know what the format of the debate, any of the three debates is yet? Have we actually heard that? I haven't. I don't think.
I don't know.
I think that could make some difference. The format, whether it's one or more than one questioner. Whether I think that I want to think it's going to make a difference. Ask me how. I don't know.
I'll take that. I don't see any way that middle 6.67% is won over by Biden to a debate. The only winner could be Trump in a debate.
Wow.
Because he's better than Biden at debating.
But I think that all of his debating tricks just reinforce his negatives, his name calling, his lying, his bullying. All Biden has to do is recycle the old Reagan line. There you go again.
See, I don't agree, Keith. I don't think he's a better debater. I think he was a better actor. That's why I have hope that there may be some positives that will come out of a debate, because without him being able to do his act the way he wants to do it, with an audience that's cheering him on, with his, his, like I said, his Jaws thing behind Hillary, those kinds of little moments, if he can't do those things, and that's going to be a result, I think, of the format, will he be a better debater? I don't know.
I think that the Biden team must be, and if they're not, they're guilty of malpractice. They must be reviewing again and again the interviews that Trump did, one on Fox and the other with Axios.
Oh my God!
The Jonathan Swan debate is going to be the primary one, and then the Chris Wallace debate is going to be the secondary one, because both of them just wiped the floor with Trump by persisting and repeating the same question. He runs
So-
out.
Did it
Here's-
but it
here's
didn't
what I-
matter at all. It didn't seem to matter to his people.
Well, nothing
as
will
much
matter
as-
to his people. We
Yeah.
Here's
know
where I
that. We know that they're locked to him.
Here's what I
Yeah.
think it's gonna come down to: what happens when Biden is basically challenged to stand up to something that Trump says. What's he going to do? Is he going to? I mean, one of the weakest positions I think that the Democrats have is, oh, he shouldn't do the debates. I think that's incredibly stupid.
I agree.
Okay, so
You have to remember.
If only to give us the spectacle of Harris versus Pence, because that's the one that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but look, I don't think Biden's going to throw in the towel. He's been in politics for too long to simply throw in the towel. It's not like he hasn't been up against these kinds of, maybe not anybody as formidable as Donald Trump, but it's not like he hasn't been up against this kind of competition before. I just
exactly.
don't.
This is all about the TV moment, and that's what debates are for. That's why JFK was a powerful president, is because he could handle the media on his feet, standing, real time. And the question is whether Biden is. What's going to happen? I think that the tactic that Biden may very well use is, if it starts to get hinky, he just stands there. I'm here. I'm listening to this crap. Doesn't challenge.
Well, that's what he did when there were many candidates, as I recall. At that point, when there were a lot of candidates, he actually didn't need to say anything, and by not saying anything, it was good for him. I do agree with you, Steve, that if he does that in a one-on-one situation, it will be bad for him.
The hardest thing for us to understand, I mean literally us, is who he appeals to, because we are alienated by him and have zero empathy for him. So we couldn't possibly experiencing him doing good in any context. We just couldn't. We'd have to get out.
I think that the power of him doing the Jaws thing behind Hillary, I hated it, but I admired the fact that he was doing it. He was intimidating.
Well, so let me keep my theme is going with that.
Yeah.
Which is when it's a TV moment. It's also a contest of personalities for a potential voter base, and it really matters what that voter base wants in a personality. Do they want a fighter with an opinion, or do they want a reasonable person with nuance? And clearly, Biden can only be Biden, and Trump can only be Trump.
So the bottom line here is,
I think there's a fallacy in looking at it that way. The debate audience is not a neutral jury. The debate audience has already decided that they want Trump or they want Biden, and a very small sliver might be swayed. People are just looking for reinforcement of their choice.
Well,
it's about the sliver. It's about that swing vote in the middle. They're the ones that we really care about.
It's not a sliver.
And how Biden speaks to them emotionally is going to decide the election.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can tell you, I have a brother who's 3 years younger than me. And when Thatcher was in power, I was obviously very against Thatcher. And I can remember listening to the debates and my brother saying, "You both sound right." He couldn't distinguish which of us was right because the internal logic of an argument got the better of him. And he didn't have his own point of view, which is quite normal, by the way. Most people don't have their own point of view.
I don't mean to interrupt, but this obscure English countryside political stuff is beyond me.
Well, it's about human beings.
No, I understand.
You know what those things are, Steve, don't you?
What?
Human beings.
I've heard of them. There are not a lot of them in this election so far.
Clem.
So let me just try and be very specific here. The the real question that the voter must decide, and we've talked about who that voter is they have to put themselves into a mental space of, is this going to be what I'm going to have to live with for another 4 years or not? And it is pandemic, no job, you know, crashing and burning of, you know, the children, you know, hopes and dreams destroyed, or some guy who is going to screw up as well, but not as badly.
I don't think that's credible. I think most people realize that no matter who's elected, some things are going to be the same. Some things.
Yeah, but the ones that are going to make a difference in terms of the pandemic, I think it's very clear that, I mean, I know that's why I'm voting that way for sure. I don't care as long as Biden shows that he can stay awake, and he did that at the convention. I'm good with that. The people that are going to need to come in and prepare for the massive change in the electorate that is coming, regardless of whether the Senate flips or not, those are the people that matter, and they're going to have a palpable effect on who's going to take the vaccine, whether there's going to be serious protection and modeling for you know, grandparents, or are they just basically going to have to stay at home? If I have to stay at home, I'll do it. You know, it makes for a good TV show.
Yeah,
it's not optimal, but it's a pathway to safety. And I don't think that Trump, for another 4 years, I think there's fatigue out there related to the pandemic, and I think he's going to lose.
So I'm with you. I'm with you personally. I'm just saying not everyone's like you and me.
Okay, well, Frank's got to run, so that's what I think. A lot of people are like Frank.
I'm running. I'm running as soon as I can, but I think I may be over the age limit though to run. So,
all right.
I'm sitting, listening to this whole conversation, and I'm thinking that thank God Kamala Harris is the person that she is, because she will be a great president.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
She'll also be a great campaigner. We're going to hear a lot from her.
We'll see.
Yep.
We'll see. Dennis, your final thoughts.
Final thoughts? Full steam ahead.
Okay.
We haven't won the election. We haven't won anything. In order to win the election, we have to keep doing what we've been doing. That means talking to people in swing states. It means volunteering. It means the whole Megillah. I like where we are today.
A corollary question. I'm trying to keep Frank in the mix for another couple of seconds here. Should we do a show next week or only the following week?
Go ahead, Dennis. I'm sorry.
I'm done.
Anybody?
I thought it was every
I'd say this. Yeah, I think we should be doing these shows more often now, as long as we're having conversations as like this. It seems to make more sense to me. If we could do them weekly, that'd be terrific. I love the idea, though, that you came up with a specific time in a day, even though it was biweekly. It didn't matter to me. But I think that we'll have a lot to say every week.
Well, I think the time is good because, you know, you notice that I'm actually here and didn't postpone it 7 times.
Well, and getting it out actually is what's important, though. If we do a show on Friday and then you need to distribute it the following week for us then to do the next show, that also makes some sense.
Well, I think there's, yeah, we've increased our editorial department by 100% recently, thanks to the iPad Pro and Luma crash. So Dennis, what's your thought? Show next week?
I would go every week. I could do it.
Okay. Michael?
Yep. Every week.
Okay. And Keith, of course, but since you never leave your camera and you're on simultaneously or in reruns constantly, it doesn't matter to you, right?
Yeah, the bad news is I registered the domain name. That was the day that was yesterday.
Well, I did.
Weekly then. That's it. We're in.
I want to just point out that there's a Telegram feed that we've been working on, and it's now enabled. And there's a Gilmore Gang Telegram feed, and there's also a Keith Tears show. That was the week that was starring the English guy who screwed up the interview with Nixon. What was that guy's name?
David Frost, yeah.
Thank you. Most of the links on Keith's stream are completely incomprehensible, but I'm starting to read them nonetheless. So we'll put it into the show notes or somehow so that you guys can join and participate.
It's that was the week, not that was the week that was. I decided not to clash with David Frost's copyright on the that was piece.
He'd come after you, especially being a Brit. You're. I like the idea of it weekly. That's a good idea. If we can do it, I'll be in New York next week, and would be able to do the next 4 weeks from there.
Excellent.
You're gonna get to see your apartment.
I am. I have to go to start pulling stuff out of it because they're starting to show it because I'm selling it.
Oh,
I wish I could keep it, but who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? It's funny. The CDC quietly announced that they were going to take away the 14-day quarantine for international travel. However, I think that the city of New York isn't on the same page as the CDC, and I can't get an answer from anybody. And so what does that actually mean? Is it? It also seems to me that a quarantine is basically kind of like done based on the honor system anyway. So it is.
Yeah, you get fined if you get caught, but it's the honor system.
So I don't quite know what to expect when I get there, but I'm going to go and I'm going to stay for a month and try and get my affairs in order. And if things work out, I'd like to keep it, but it is on the market.
Okay. Michael, any last thoughts?
No, I have a book recommendation. Kurt Anderson's new book, Evil Geniuses.
He's good.
It's a thrilling sweep of cultural, economic history that talks about how we got into the pickle we are now, where everything fundamentally went to shit.
I would also, although I've just started it, is Hoax by Brian Stelter, an interesting look at how the Trump administration is working with the Fox network. It's pretty interesting.
I started watching The Young Pope, which is amazing. I never watched it when it was first on. And it's with Jude Law playing the young Pope. And it's an amazing look at how institutions crumble from the inside.
Where else?
Oh, that's... I just read Stuart Stevens' book. It was all a lie. It was okay. I don't recommend it because he doesn't really provide any insight into how to get out of where we're at.
It's amazing how this turned into a book club suddenly.
Suddenly.
I'm reading yet another not bad book about the last year of the Beatles.
He's lying. He's reading the user manual for LumaFusion. That's all he's reading.
No, when I take breaks, I go back. No, it's an interesting read. It's all about Alan Klein and all these idiots.
What's the name of the book?
And in the end,
And
something like
I
that.
was just at Abbey Road last week.
Yeah,
I saw your picture.
Now, did you get to go in?
No, I just walked in front of it and took a picture.
Oh, nice.
I have a relative that lives literally a half a block away from there at number 49A Abbey Road. So I just took a walk down the street and and took the picture. It was
I see people were disappointed you didn't get a photo at the zebra crossing.
I thought about that, and then my nephew came up to me and he said, when you do that, the traffic literally stops, and sometimes they're okay with that, and sometimes they're not okay with that. It's okay. I posted a picture of the cats walking across it, the one that's called Tabby Road. Dennis, I did that, and I was thinking of you when I
posted
posted
the walkway.
I like that.
It's
Frank,
standing there that's the problem. If you just walk across, that's what it's there for.
but also it's England. And what will actually happen is the traffic will apologize to you for wanting to go.
Exactly. Oh, it's so civil. You know what? It is just so
That's the kind
civilized
of
here,
joke
Keith.
that I know it's funny. I just don't know why you even said it.
It is so civilized here, Keith. Honest to God, it's like it's almost hard to live here because it's so civilized. It really is.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
People are
Don't
nice.
ask me what that means. I'll just apologize.
Frank, you're always looking for a nice way to wrap it up. So we'll take that.
All right.
I want to thank all the people that participated, especially our producer and director, Tina Chase Gilmore.
Thank you.
I'm just glad that the conventions are over.
Too.
Unconventional.
Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We will see you again, hopefully next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, and
Okay.
leaving at point, yeah.
Chow mein, people.
Thanks, guys. It was a good show.